I've always liked sci-fi anime, and even more so future dystopian sci-fi anime, such as Ghost in the Shell, Evangelion, and Ergo Proxy being the most notable. I find myself having an easier time understanding and even more interested in those worlds than others. The questions they ask and the concepts they share is why I'm obsessed with Cyberpunk 2077. I've put in over 100 hours into this game. I remember the announcement for Cyberpunk 2077 and being so excited to finally have an even more ambitious futuristic dystopian Skyrim-like RPG. As per my last video, you now know how much I enjoy these types of games, so it was perfect. But obviously at launch we were giving something much different than what was promised, and as a result, I came to not care about the game. But 3 years later, and with most of the technical issues out of the way, I was able to experience Cyberpunk and all of its lore to its fullest, and I can definitely say I'm obsessed with this game and its concepts. There are a lot of heavy tones, concepts, and ideologies at play in the story and world of Cyberpunk. At the center are stereotypical Cyberpunk motifs such as sadism, commercialization, cruelty, and satisfaction, which remain key in the political and societal landscape of Night City. Hedonism is deeply ingrained in the fabric of Night City, where the pursuit of pleasure and self-indulgence is a way of life for many of its inhabitants. The city is divided into two distinct classes: the downtrodden, who use psychedelic substances and physically augmented adult workers as a form of escapism, and the elite corporate class, aka corpos, who dominate society and are afforded great financial success. The downtrodden seek solace in the fleeting pleasures of drugs, brain dances, and cybernetic enhancements, often at the cost of their humanity. These forms of escapism provide temporary relief from the harsh realities of life in Night City, where violence and exploitation are rampant. On the other hand, the corpos indulge in their own brand of hedonism, using their wealth and power to manipulate and control the masses. Their pursuit of pleasure is intertwined with their desire for dominance, leading to a society where moral boundaries are blurred and the line between pleasure and pain is often indistinguishable. When looking into the philosophical notions this game explores, Cyberpunk delves into themes of identity, consciousness, and the human condition. The presence of Johnny Silverhand as a digital ghost in V's mind raises questions about the nature of self and the impact of technology on human existence. The game's narrative challenges players to consider the ethical implications of cybernetic enhancements and the pursuit of pleasure at the expense of one's humanity.
Unbelievable. It looks like... I'm afraid I have bad news. Your neural network has completely deteriorated. It can no longer function independently of the chip.
Through Cyberpunk's amazing storytelling and complex characters, it offers a thought-provoking exploration of hedonism and its consequences in a dystopian future. Cyberpunk 2077 draws significant inspiration from real-life societal issues and iconic works of science fiction. The game's portrayal of a dystopian future where corporate power and technological advancement dominate society mirrors contemporary concerns about the influence of big tech companies and the erosion of privacy. The stark divide between the affluent elite and the struggling masses in Night City reflects real-world economic disparities and the growing gap between the rich and poor. The philosophical themes explored in the game, such as the nature of identity and consciousness, are reminiscent of those found in influential works like Ghost in the Shell that I mentioned earlier, and even Akira. Similarly, Cyberpunk delves into the concept of engrams, digital copies of a person's mind that retain their memories, emotions, and personality traits.
Jordan. The world remains gripped by the revelation that Saburo Arasaka has returned from the dead in the body of his son, Yorinobu Arasaka.
This is an abomination, born of unchecked vanity.
Is clear. Saburo Arasaka's seizure of power is in violation of international law. Night City residents are also making their voices heard. A protest outside of Arasaka's Night City headquarters has extended to its second day.
Do we really want to live in a world where the rich and powerful can become immortal? Where they can continue to take from the poor, not only their livelihoods, but even their...
I think a huge concept that stuck with me while playing Cyberpunk was the cyberpsychosis concept that they implemented, or rather that is a fact of life in the world. And when looking at this concept, it's been probably analyzed and talked about the most out of all the things that are in the game, aside from its philosophical notions and various motifs and whatnot. But I think for me, as far as how it impacted my experience playing the game, the cyberpsychosis added a level of mortality to the realization of what we had done to ourselves and what we had become and what that means. And I think the way we deal with that is a really telling way of how I think the game almost perfectly encapsulates how we would realistically handle something like that. I mean, from the degradation of the healthcare system that has completely eroded all sense of hope for those people that go through, like cyberpsychosis and whatnot, and augmentation complications and whatnot, demons of war. That quest line really solidified what it means to have, like, what cyberpsychosis really means for the average Joe. Aside from the absolutely base gameplay and combat system, one other thing that has kept me completely immersed in the game is the lore. The lore of this game to me is that of Skyrim in terms of its depth. Now, apart from the mostly generic motifs and design in regards to the genre standard, the overall presentation and how the lore is conveyed is why I consider the lore a key aspect in its standing. To me, the lore behind the corporations is what interested me the most. Something about the looming power of Arasaka still sticks with me to this day, as far as their role to play and how not just Night City, but the entire country ended up being completely dominated by them as well. Three main corporations that I wanted to shine focus on are Arasaka, Militech, and Petrochem, as these three have done more damage to the country than imagined. Three main things that I wanted to point out. Arasaka having a monopoly on human life or the soul, Militech having a monopoly on private military and contracting, and Petrochem having a monopoly on gas. Starting with Arasaka. Arasaka is a Japanese megacorporation founded by Sasai Arasaka in 1915 as a weapons manufacturing company. Under the leadership of Saburo Arasaka, who took over in 1960, the company expanded into three branches: Arasaka Manufacturing, Arasaka Bank, and Arasaka Security. Saburo used his business acumen, political influence, and espionage skills to make Arasaka a global force, aiming to restore Japan's glory after its defeat in World War II. Arasaka became involved in the Fourth Corporate War, a global conflict between Arasaka and its rival, Militech, mentioned earlier, which resulted in the destruction of Night City by a nuclear bomb in 2023. By 2070, Arasaka controls pretty much most of Night City and is involved in the development of the Soul Killer program, which can store a person's consciousness digitally. Next is Militech, an American megacorporation founded by Italian weapons designer Antonio Lucchesi in 1996. Initially known as Armatech Lucchesi International, the company gained prominence through its trials for a new U.S. infantry assault weapon. Militech provides top-tier weapons and private military services for various conflicts, including assassinations, revolutions, and civil wars. The company played a significant role in the Fourth Corporate War against Arasaka, which led to its nationalization by the U.S. government. Finally, we have Petrochem. It is a mega corporation primarily focused on the petrochemical industry. It is the world's largest producer of the synthetic alcohol fuel Chew, under license from Biotechnica, the primary energy source for the mid-21st century. Petrochem controls millions of acres of arable land across the unincorporated United States. Used to cultivate genetically modified wheat for CHOOH2 production, the company's influence extends to various sectors. I mention these three corporate entities to point out how well the lore of these companies engaged in the most realistic corporate power struggle that played out in the world of Cyberpunk, in my opinion. To wrap this up, Cyberpunk has faced its fair share of challenges, and we all know about the rocky start. But to me, its strengths far outweigh its initial shortcomings. The game's lore and immersive world building and complex character development is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. To me, the game will always have a special place, and I will always go back and continue to play this game, even to this day. But I'd like to hear about your guys' experiences with the game. I'd like to hear your thoughts and your favorite moments in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other video on Skyrim and my other gaming videos as well. But thanks for watching, and yeah, peace.